The tribulation, for us who know Christ, should remind us that He has kept us from the time of His great wrath. But look at chapter 6, and I just want to just survey this, because this is what I want to share with you this evening, the lessons of the final Holocaust. First, we see that the book of Revelation is kind of like an unfolding flower. It's one flower, but it just keeps opening, kind of like the petals, and it keeps getting more intricate and complex. And there are all these seals and bowls and vials and trumpets and all this stuff. And then there's interludes, and it's a very complex structure. It's all heptadic. It's built around sevens, and there's a lot of stuff in here. But look at the seals with me. This is the thumbnail sketch of the tribulation. And by the way, this exactly parallels Matthew 24. You want to do a study, look at the Revelation 6, Matthew 24 correspondence. It's unbelievable. But the same author wrote it all. That's why it's so good. But verse 1 of chapter 6, I saw and the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures, remember these cherubims that are always facing God, and one of them saying with a voice like thunder, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a white horse, and he who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given him, and he went out to conquering and to conquer. Now remember, white horse, remember Jesus in chapter 19 comes on the white horse, and early on people go, oh, this is Jesus, coming. No, this is the anti-Jesus, the anti-Christ. He's coming, the false conqueror that isn't bringing peace, the false peace. Then the second seal, verse 3, when he opened the seal, I heard a second living creature saying, "Come and see." And another horse was fiery red, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and that people should kill one another. And there was given him a great sword. So this is death and warfare and murder. Verse 5, he opened the third seal, and I heard the third living creature say, "Come and see." And look, behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales. And of course, this is the famine, global famine coming. And it says, the voice in the midst of the four creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius." A quart of wheat for a denarius. Denarius was a day's pay. So they are just surviving. They can just barely get by. It's like you work all day and you just get enough to have food. And 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine. So there seems to be this luxury. During the tribulation, people are still living in luxury. Verse 7, the fourth seal. And when he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. The pale, it's like chloros. It's like chlorine gas. It's kind of thick green, kind of the color of bile. It's just awful. It's horrible. And this is... the name of him who sat on it was Death, and Hades followed with him. And power was given them over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword, with hunger. So this warfare we already saw in the previous seal. Hunger we also saw in the previous seal. With death, but this is the fascinating one, and by the beasts of the earth. So in this seal, a fourth of 6.7 currently billion people die through these various means, through murder, the sword, warfare, hunger, famine, death, and the beasts of the earth. All of them are easy except the beast. And you know what's amazing? When we think of beasts, we think of cougars and lions and tigers and I don't know what ferocious beasts we have here. Wolverines, I guess, in Michigan, the Wolverine state. But that's not what it is. If you look at the background of this word in the Greek language, Anton von Leeuwenhoek, the microscope guy, when he first looked in a microscope at a little bit of water from a pond, do you remember his amazing words? He said, "Behold, what manner of beasties." He called those little microscopic organisms beasts. Most likely this death from beast is not that the Lord, He could, but I don't think He ramps up the lion population and the snake population. It's probably what we would call biological warfare. It's probably the biological agents that are being amassed all over the world by terrorist groups. You ever thought about once they let the genie out of the bottle, what's going to happen? I think about that with all this genetic work they're doing. They're mutating and changing everything. And what we really don't know is once you start doing genetic changes, what happens? What happens when things, I say the kids, especially like some of this mutated stuff that they make into corn chips and everything else, I said, that never exists. God didn't make that. That's been so altered, What's the long-term effect on the human body of all this stuff? We don't know, but we do know this, that beasts of the earth and all the rest kill a fourth. And then on, the martyr's cry, and then verse 12 onward talks about huge things, the cosmic earthquake that's going on, and then we get into 144,000. That's the tribulation. Now, quickly before we go, let me summarize this. In the Great Tribulation, what we just read in chapter 6, these are staggering numbers. Now, don't get buzzed by numbers, but just think of them. More than 2.5 million people die every day for 42 months. More than 2.5 million people. What's the population of Michigan these days? Isn't it 7, 8, 9 million? I don't know what it is. Maybe it's more. I haven't kept track. But Michigan be wiped out in 3 or 4 days. Everybody in the whole state during the tribulation. So Michigan would last 4 days, max. Gone. Everybody. In Auschwitz, 1,200 died every day. That means 2,500 times as many people as during the Holocaust die every day on earth. 2,500 times as many people. Or to put it in Auschwitz terms, the number of people that died every 24 hours at Auschwitz will die every 30 seconds in the Great Tribulation. That means you have an Auschwitz every 30 seconds going on all day long. In other terms, living on earth will be like living in an Auschwitz death camp. And in the death tolls, there will be the equivalent of a Holocaust twice a day for 42 months. A brief look through the pages of Revelation, chapter 6, if we had time to look at 8, 9, and 16, describe a living hell that can only be avoided by salvation. Now think of a summary of the tribulation